Hello and thank you for tuning in to Auto E-Clinic. What we had in the shop today was a 2006 Ford Freestyle. Came in with some codes, low power. We checked it out, ended up replacing the EGR valve and the intake gaskets. Can you explain to us, Mike, how we come up with this diagnosis and repair?
We had the lean codes. We knew we had a vacuum leak around the EGR. We decided to go replace the EGR, and something as simple as replacing the EGR got real complicated real quick. Yeah. Ended up removing the intake to do it, and while we're there, replacing all the intake manifold gaskets, which was a better way to do the job to begin with. We really should have planned on that to begin with. Learn as you go here. So we know by replacing all the gaskets there, the customer's not going to have a problem again for quite some time with that. So going to make for a much happier customer.
No, exactly right.
Now, we went with some aftermarket gaskets on this. Really wasn't a difference between aftermarket and OE on this. Do you run in on to what you deal with there and a lot of intake gasket sales from the dealer?
Yes, we do have a lot of intake gasket sales. One of the biggest reasons now is they're making them out of two materials. Rather than being just a gasket, you have a plastic frame with a rubber seal that goes around the ports of what it's trying to seal. What have you seen with those gaskets?
Yeah, I replace a whole bunch of them. That's on the GM 3.1, 3.4, 4.3, some of the 5.0s, and some of the 5.7s had that too. Replace a whole bunch of them. With these, this was a Ford, this was a rubber type gasket. Obviously it did hold up over time, hence why we're there. We saw the condition of the gaskets. We saw where they were just dried up. When the rubber gets dried up, it just kind of shrivels up and doesn't do its job anymore at this point to hold in vacuum. Obviously it wasn't doing that. It definitely needed gaskets. Replaced the EGR valve there too. Like I said, it was a very simple job to begin with and turned in pretty complicated, but we know we did the job right and we know the customer's happy.
Exactly, because you started out with the smoke machine. We found that there was a leak in the EGR valve. So at that point in time, we were going to replace the EGR valve. There was a pipe that was kind of rusted and stuck. So in the video, we showed us taking off the strut tower braces, the engine mount, to get the upper intake off. Now it was also in two pieces. It actually had the lower and the upper plenum gaskets. Do you ever see both of those gaskets go bad, or you just see lower, upper? What do you see?
On the plastic intakes, in this case, it was a plastic, the whole intake assembly was plastic upper and lower. That time, yes, both sets. Now, when we just had the plastic upper and like an aluminum lower, usually the lowers don't go bad. If the lower does go bad, it's much, much longer after the uppers. The uppers on this, for some reason, it seems to be more on Ford's design on this. There's no water running through the upper since it is plastic, so we see a lot of vacuum leaks because of the type of gaskets they use. And I don't know if it's the manufacturer gaskets, whoever's making them, what material. I don't know that. I don't need to know that. I just know we see a lot of problems with them, and there's actually on this car there was a service bulletin based on those gaskets for link codes.
Exactly. A service bulletin is something that usually you'll end up seeing a lot of repairs in a dealership, and it will create a trend. So where somebody says, hey, we have a problem. Once it's figured out how to fix it, then the information goes out to the dealers first. It works its way down to the small shops, and we'll save you a lot of time and money if you just kind of look at those. Do some research, find out what goes bad on them before you start.
Always check service bulletins. Now, most of the general population, general public, without some type of paid account, cannot just go into service bulletins. You can try to Google search, but the information's only halfway there. Very unreliable. You really need some type of system. Shop system for that information for the OE repair procedures and campaigns, recalls, and bulletins. Huge information out there. Always check that first. My training from GM, that was actually one of the first couple steps in the GM diagnostic process, was check for bulletins.
Well, it only makes sense. If there's a common problem and you're having a common condition or code or whatever it may be, yeah, check that, because more than likely that's what's going to be the problem.
Absolutely, yeah. If it's a symptom, what you're related to, always go to the bulletin first. GM, when I was working for them, actually made us do that first, which made the most sense. Anything under warranty is going to save them money overall if that's the problem, because they're not going to pay us really to diagnose it, or much less time to diagnose it. If we can go to that bulletin, find the problem there. In the aftermarket world as well, it saves the customer money for that time of diagnosis or any kind of wrong diagnosis. I can tell the customer, listen, the manufacturer had this problem. We need to go with this route first.
Yeah, and on this particular instance, save the customer quite a bit of money on labor, parts, because it was recently diagnosed with a transmission issue, quoted around $5,000, ended up being as simple as an EGR valve and intake gaskets. And once we were in there, we were done the spark plugs, kind of give it a tune-up. So, like you said earlier, it's not going to be giving the customer any problem anytime soon.
No, they're happy. They're driving the car. That's all that matters.
Well, we thank you for tuning in to Auto eClinic today. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel. Look us up on Facebook, Twitter. We usually try to update it with some pictures and things throughout the week, some interesting things. You can post questions on there as well.
Please, like to thank our sponsors. We have Tim's Towing for all your towing needs. We have SamuelDJackson.com. Great websites, great prices. We also have Norris Auto Clinic, provides us the facility and the equipment. And Coffee News. Don't forget to pick up one of those.
Exactly. Anything else you want to add, Mike?
Blinds. Regular window blinds. Great invention. I just wish I'd have thought about that.
They now have blinds that have lights in them. So if you've got a wall with no window, bam, you put the blinds up, instant window.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not kidding.
Wow. I am going to check that out right now.
Thanks.